The city wakes to dust and rumor. Lystra sits low under a white sky, half-finished walls and goat paths, the kind of place where awe and anger live close together. Vendors argue over measures. Women trade news at the well. A boy drags sticks past the shrine. Somewhere beyond the houses, two travelers wash road from their faces and pray for steady words. The shorter one has a scar above his brow and a voice that quickens when the truth in him starts to burn. Paul. Beside him walks Barnabas, taller, gentler-eyed, whose hands look like he learned faith by lifting people. They have come from Iconium with dust on their sandals and warnings in their ears. Some called them blasphemers there. Here, no one knows their names yet. Paul speaks in the marketplace, and people lean into his sentences as if warming their hands. His talk is about a God who does not hide in carved wood and colored smoke, a God who waters vineyards and remembers the poor, a God who came close in the body of a suffering man and would not stay dead. Near the edge of the crowd, a lame man sits with his legs folded under him like bundled rope. He listens and lights from the eyes inward, the way a lamp catches behind clay. Paul sees him. Words break off mid-phrase. He says, loud enough for the whole square, "Stand up." Silence takes a breath. The man rises. It is not graceful. It is a fight with gravity and old stories. His knee locks. His ankle remembers. His hands come away from the ground surprised at their freedom. A woman drops her jar and laughs, the kind of laugh that comes from the ribs. A boy runs in a circle because he has seen a miracle and his body has to do something with the information. Joy turns dangerous. "Zeus!" someone cries at Barnabas. "Hermes!" at Paul. The priest brings wreaths. A bull lurches forward. Paul and Barnabas tear their garments and plead, "We are only men." Turn from idols to the living God. Their words skid across a crowd already decided. The wrong story flatters. From the road come men from Antioch and Iconium, skilled at souring joy. They call the healing a trick, a theft of honor. Hands that clapped now curl around stones. Paul squares his shoulders to speak again. A rock strikes. Another flashes white behind his ear. Iron. Dust. He is dragged by the wrists beyond the gate, heels carving a line. There stones lie ready, heavy as regret. Barnabas lunges and is shoved back. Disciples hover, helpless. The stones fall with their grim rhythm, thud asking for thud until the body is still. He thinks of Stephen and the coat he once held. Memory cuts and binds at once. The last stone lands. Dead, they say, and go. He lies outside the city's shade. Flies find him. Wind threads the thorn. The sun does not blink. Time spreads like water. He waits for hands. But there are hands. The disciples circle, kneel, and say his name, Paul. A thumb finds the bruise. A cloth is lifted, not to surrender but to search his breath. Something stubborn as a winter seed pushes. Paul inhales, ragged, and sits up into a stunned ring. Barnabas's hand finds his elbow. "Brother," he whispers. "Brother." Together they limp through the gate. In a borrowed room, water and bread become sacraments. Behind his eyes, faces, stones, and steadfast stars. Night sits on Lystra. Some laugh in taverns, others lower lamps and consider the weight they carried today. Barnabas keeps vigil with a psalm. Paul sleeps the emptied sleep. At dawn he tests eyes, hands, ribs, voice, hinges that open grudgingly. Outside, Lystra is Lystra, smoke straight up, donkeys arguing, the priest delaying the knife. Paul says he wants the marketplace. Barnabas. Today? Paul. Today. They go. In the square, glances slide away, children are hushed. Paul's voice is softer after flood, but it finds its channel. Breath returned, a kingdom without shrines, a love that refuses the last word. Barnabas stands like a door held open. By noon, Indecision becomes its own miracle. The healed man brushes Paul's sleeve, confirming the world stayed mended. Paul sees future hands, pleading, praising, clenched, roads like chords, cities like notes, letters written with ink and ache. He sees prison bars, and not Rome yet. Later they leave for Derby, limping into heat, fellowship moving at the speed of friendship. Field paths ring with boys' shouts. The stones here are ordinary. Paul counts breaths and looks far. Barnabas tells an old joke and wins a careful laugh. News walks faster than travelers. Some will say the troublemakers triumphed. But trouble does not write the last chapter. In hidden rooms, oil is lit, and a prayer rises. For those who threw stones, for their sleep, for their children. It is outrageous, and it breaks the circle. Years from now, a man will read a letter and find a shape for courage. A woman will teach forgiveness with the story of a man who stood and walked back through a gate. Elsewhere, an old enemy will hear Lystra and set down a rock. Somewhere, always, a body and a ring of faces decide whether to walk away or kneel. The world waits for hands. What does a city do with a miracle it tried to murder? Lystra answers in fragments. A mason scrubs lime from his arms and feels a bruise in the heel that gripped a stone. That afternoon he resets a widow's threshold and cannot say why. The healed man learns the logic of feet, walks past the gate where dust ran red, then takes the long way home to memorize the town at standing height. Barnabas binds Paul, vinegar, cloth, patience, naming bruises like guests. Paul smiles with half a mouth. Some guests overstay and become household. He means pain and courage. In the thin hours, Paul's mind returns to another road, dust bright as fire, the voice that unmade him, hands leading him blind to a room where a stranger said, "Brother." He had been the circle then, and others threw stones of law and certainty. Now he lies on a borrowed mat and learns how wide brother must be when it includes enemies. He prays for Lystra, the way farmers ask for rain that soaks without drowning. Morning brings sideways faces, bread, news, shy questions. An old woman nods once and leaves a fig. A youth who once shouted Hermes asks whether the maker of the sky notices a shepherd's split knuckles. Paul answers with a story about tents and thorns and a grace that works in the dark. The boy understands only part, but a hook sets behind his ribs and will not come loose. By afternoon, the market hums again. A joke about cheap stones falls like a cracked cup. Barnabas buys figs. The seller slips 2 extra into his hand without changing her face. Paul and Barnabas walk lanes in a rhythm that resembles prayer. When asked about the gods, Paul points to wheat and weather and a child's full laugh. Gifts, not gods. The giver moves. When asked about stones, he touches a bruise. A body can be a letter people read. Barnabas turns the look in Paul's eyes into a blessing for doorways. News runs outward. On the road to Derbe, they plan with crumbs. Derbe, then back, if God allows. Strengthen souls. Lay hands, raise elders, a perilous loop that refuses to be vengeance. That night Paul writes 3 lines on scraped parchment, thanks for breath, mercy for timed throes, a heart kept soft without losing bone. He sleeps and dreams not of stones, but of doors, some stuck, some swinging. Back in Lystra, the ring of stones stays where it is. Rain darkens them. Birds hold court. Children dare one another to stand in the center and shout a name. Sometimes it is Paul, sometimes their own, meaning the same thing. I am still here. Some evenings when wind carries time from the hills, a passerby sets one stone a little straighter. Perhaps a city remembers with its hands. Thank you for listening to Divine Crime. Subscribe for more true stories from the most dangerous book ever written.